Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I just want to make a quick video on something that happened to me this morning, and that question is, who's your neighbor when you're retired? Now we all have neighbors that live close to us. Well, this morning something really funny, kind of funny happened. I get up really early, so about 5:30, I decided this morning I was going to run over to the local Speedway and get me a cup of coffee, which I do on several mornings. And when I opened the garage door, I do the same thing every time I leave my garage. I walk out, take a couple steps out of my garage. I look to my left, look across the street, look to my right, just check on my neighbors, make sure everything's on the up and up. I noticed the lady across the street, her car was in the driveway. Now, she never parks her car in the driveway. It's always in the garage. So I thought, I wonder what's up there. And I looked to my right and to my other neighbor, and there she was standing in their driveway. I said, "Hey, neighbor, what's going on?" And so she came over and chatted for a minute. She was probably getting her garbage can in or doing something for them. She was serving them in some way, and she does that. That's her nature, and that's all good. I find it kind of humorous though that she's probably 5 years older than the people who live there. So, but it's all good. So we just stood there and chatted for a minute. But it got me to thinking, who is your neighbor in retirement? Well, several times over the years, I was reminded of who our neighbors really are. You know, Jesus told us to love your neighbor as yourself, and sometimes that's hard to do when you're in a hurry, when you really don't want to do it, or you got to help somebody that really is an unlovable person. And but Jesus never told us to love people just like us. He told us to love everybody. Doesn't mean we agree with him on everything. Just told us to love everybody. One time, a few years back, one of my sons was working with me as a contractor, and we pulled up behind this great big old apartment building. And there was a guy there old guy there, trying to change a tire. I think it was an old beat up station wagon, and he was having a heck of a time. He was probably 70, 75 years old at the time, and I was in a hurry. We had a little drywall repair to do, so it was at the end of the day, and I was ready to go home. I was ready to hit the road. And I kind of sat there, looked at my son. He says, "Well, Dad, we got to help him." I said, "Yeah, we got to help him." I said, don't you hate it when your kids are right and remind you of something that you already taught them?" So we helped him change his tire. Well, that day, that elderly man, was my neighbor. My neighbors on one side of me are really good neighbors, and we've done things for them over the years. And now, as we've gotten older, they do more for us than we do for them. But it's all good. We all love each other. Neighbors on the other side of me, they are polar opposites of what I am. We don't agree on anything politically, spiritually. We're different economically. We're just different. And sometimes they're just unlovable, and that's okay. They are still our neighbor, and we still serve them in any way we can. I remember a couple of years ago, I was recently retired, I think, and they wanted to know if I knew of someone who would come over and paint a couple rooms for me. I said, "Yeah, I can do that." "Well, how much will you charge?" "I'm not going to charge anything. Just I let them pay for the paint, and they did. And I painted a couple of rooms. It wasn't that big a thing. One time, one of their shutters, here recently, one of their shutters blew off their house, and she asked my wife. She said, you know any handyman or somebody that can come over and put that back up for me?" She said, "Yeah, Larry can do that." She volunteered me, of course, and I was willing. So I went over and and put the shutter back up. It wasn't a big thing. As I was just finishing up, the man came out of the house and said, "Well, we owe you, Larry." I said, "You don't owe me anything. You're my neighbor." Another time here recently, we had a lot of rains, and I noticed when it was pouring down rain, I noticed their gutters were overflowing in the front. So I went over and cleaned out their gutters for them that I could reach easily, because I don't get up on big ladders anymore, but I could get up on a step ladder, and I went over there and cleaned out her gutters. They were totally stopped up, and she was very thankful. Sometimes we have to do things for people that we don't agree with, and that's just the way it is. Once, several years ago, about 6 or 7 years ago, there was a guy in Kentucky. I live in southern Ohio, and I was looking at a job in northern Kentucky. It was about 50 minutes away from my house. I usually don't drive that far, but it was a referral and it was a pretty big job. So I thought, well, I'll go look at it. And I'm one of these people that leaves early. I get there early, but what I do is I get close because I hate traffic. I just detest traffic. So I get close, and I pulled up in this parking lot of the little strip center, and I saw this uh, guy about my age. He was probably 55, 60 at the time, and he was walking up and down, looking in all the storefronts. And he looked a little out of place. That's putting it mildly. So I watched him, and he came walking back, and he saw me sitting out in my van. He says, he asked me if I knew where such and such was. I said, no, I'm not from around here. He got this real sad look on his face. He said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I took a bus to get here. He said, I thought I had it all figured out, but he said, since I can't find him, I'm going to have to go home. I don't know how to get there. I don't know the bus schedule. And I said, I'll tell you what, if you can wait here for about an hour, because about 20 minutes I got to go give this estimate, and I'll swing back by here and I'll take you home. His eyes just lit up, man. He was so thankful. So I did, and in fact, I took him right to his front door. It was a little out of my way, but not much. Now, I don't suggest doing that all the time. You guys don't see me, but I'm kind of a big guy. And at the time, I was a little bigger, 6'7", 240. And he was just a little guy, so it really didn't bother me much. He knew I wasn't afraid of him or anything, and it was all good. Just one human being helping out another human being. I would not suggest doing that all the time. In fact, there are times when I'm sure I've passed by places that I just didn't feel comfortable with helping someone out at the time, and that's okay too. We need to have a spirit of discernment sometimes. But here recently, something happened. Who's your neighbor? I said earlier that I went to a speedway. Well, the same lady's worked in the speedway for like 20 years, and we've got to be friends over the years. Not close friends, but a first name basis for sure. And we chat about different things sometimes. And she was showing me pictures of her deck. Now you have to figure, this woman is probably, I'll be nice, she's pushing 80. She can barely walk around. She's still working. She lives in a mobile home, but her deck was falling apart so bad she had to get it replaced or she wouldn't be able to get in and out of her house. So she did. She knew I was a contractor painter, so she asked, she said, what should I put on? I said, well, you get this option, that option, this option. She said, well, how much would something like that cost? I said, well, if I was going to do it, it'd probably be around $800. Her face just dropped. She said, well, I can't afford something like that. I said, but I'll tell you what, I will do it for you pro bono. Pro bono. Well, I kind of regretted that because a week or so later, I went to do it, and the pictures didn't do it justice. It was a little harder. Actually, it was a lot harder than I thought it would be, and I'd be real careful. It was a really nice deck, but it was just bigger job than I wanted to do, and probably should have done. But she was so thankful. She just thanked me profusely, and people don't these days. They don't know how to react when you do something kind for them. But she was my neighbor that day. She was my neighbor that day. Bottom line is, guys, everybody's your neighbor. Everybody's your neighbor. We can't do everything for everybody, but we can do some things for some people. If you like what you saw in this video, like and subscribe. I'm going to be starting a new series soon on the simple retirement life, because I'm about as simple a guy as they come. But until we meet again, I'm going to continue to press on towards that goal.